प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Yes. Hope that you all had a nice Sunday holiday. For devotees, it is not just a holiday, but it is a holy day. And this is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to change these holidays into holy days, wherein we spend a day in the service of the Lord. So that's why usually the devotees are more busy on Sundays than on the other days. Because it being a holy day for them. So this is the time when they get a real ample amount of time to devote for the Lord. So that's why they are more engaged on such holy days. So in that way. So today, yesterday we discussed about soul. And today we'll be discussing about Ishvara. Ishvara, that is the literal Sanskrit meaning of Ishvara is controller. Ishvara bhava. The attitude of controllership, or Ishvara means controller. And we are not just talking about a simple controller, rather we are talking about supreme controller. Because each one of us, in our own capacities, we all act as small little controllers, right? We act as small little controllers. Just as whatever is within our purview, we try to control those things. Although we try to imitate the supreme control in bits and pieces, but rarely we succeed in being an absolute controller. So in that way, today we are going to talk about Ishvara, which means controller, and not just Ishvara, rather Param Ishvara. Param means ultimate. ultimate controller. So many can be Ishwaras, but only the Supreme Lord can be known as Param Ishwara. Param means ultimate, and Ishwara means controller, ultimate controller, the supreme controller. So this is what we are going to discuss upon today. So I'll just brief you about today's session, what all concepts we are going to cover today. First of all, to begin with, we'll discuss on, does God really exist, or is it is the concept of God an imaginary concept, which people have developed simply to bring about an ethical, responsible life within the society? Mm. So we'll discuss upon this. And then, moving ahead, then we'll discuss about, yes, if God really exists, mm, is God just energy or light, or does he have a form? So this concept we'll be discussing, because many people believe in this, concept, saying, understanding that God is energy or God is light, or in this way. That's why this is a kind of a misconception that is prevalent in the society. So that's why we'll also be discussing, what does Bhagavad Gita got to say on this, and does God have a form or not? And after which we'll be discussing on, yes, uh, if God exists and God has a form, then um, then what is the definition of God? What actually is the definition of God? So we'll be discussing on that. After which we'll discuss on, once we understand what is the definition of God, then why is it that in Sanatan Dharma, or so-called and Hinduism at times, uh, it is so observed or so seen that many people are understood or accepted to be gods? And how come there are so many gods? Are there many gods, or God is one? Hmm. God is one, or gods can be many. And not just, we're not just talking about those gods which are given in the scriptures. Apart from those gods who are given in the scriptures, there are many imposters who are being known as gods, roaming in the society. In that case, what, who can be actually known as an avatar? Because many claim themselves to be avatar. What does an avatar mean, and who can claim, who can be an avatar? So by understanding this, we'll be able to differentiate who is an imposter and who is real avatar or real. And when we understand, yes, there is one God, then who is that one God? So with this understanding, we'll conclude today's session. These are the various concepts we'll try to cover as many as possible in today's session. Okay. So to begin with, does God exist or not? What do you think? God really exists? Hmm. Many people seem to feel offended when they are posed with such a question, thinking that, do you think that we are an atheist? You're asking this sort of a question. Mm. But the thing is that although many claim that they have faith in the existence of God, but faith itself is not actually enough. Faith should be reasonable faith. It cannot be blind faith. Blind faith can be destroyed by a couple of questions. When we put up a couple of controversies or questions, people's faith shatter. And the very person who seem to have faith in God, that very person will start propaganda the other way around, because his faith has been destroyed. So that's why simple faith or blind faith is not actually what is recommended in the scriptures. Rather, scriptures definitely talk about faith, but that does not refer to blind faith. Rather, it refers to reasonable faith. Reasonable faith. There's a difference between blind faith and reasonable faith. Just as when we are supposed to approach a doctor, mm, approach a doctor. Mm. So will we simply blindly go up to him and show up our chest and tell him, what doctor, whatever way you wish to operate on me, you are free to do. जैसे तैसे भी काट देना. No, है ना. Rather we although we will not be anyways doing this way as well. We will not simply go up to the doctor and say and ask him, first of all, show me your certification, your MBBS certificate, your MD certificate, your specialization, and all of these certifications, and what are the surgeries that you have ever done. Once you prove yourself, then I'll allow you to check me. So, I mean, this kind of an approach, this is also not reasonable, right? This is not what we are going to do. Rather, what we will simply do, we kind of make an inquiry around those people who approached the doctor, who met the doctor, who were treated with the doctor, and who went through a very positive experience, and who were, who got treated well. And whose disease was treated well. So in this way, we kind of make an inquiry around, and we also get to know his qualifications, although we do not dig into them with the certifications and all, but at least we have an idea of, where are we going? Yes, he's an orthopedic. Is an ophthalmologist. So this kind of an idea, we kind of gather this sort of an information. We also gather the information saying, how this go, what is the approach that this doctor follows, and how does he treat, and easy, greedy, or recommending a number of tests without any substantial case. So in this way, we kind of make an inquiry, and if our inquiry is fit enough, then we go to approach the doctor and get treated. Right. So in this way, here we are putting reasonable faith on the doctor, not blind faith. Not blind faith. We are not simply, outrightly going up to the doctor and questioning his authority. At the same time, before we approach the doctor, we are also making an inquiry, and justifying our willingness to approach that doctor. This is what is called reasonable faith. Again, is the blind faith. So similarly, in spirituality also, we need, spirituality also does not demand any blind faith. Because many times people think that believing in God means having blind faith in it. but this is not what is required, or this is not what is recommended. Rather, it should be reasonable faith, not blind faith. And secondly, for example, even if we approach um, when we begin with our studies as well. Mm. Definitely, before we join the students in a particular school, we verify the authenticity of the school and how the school is, and how, I mean, what are the kind of arrangements? I mean, how is it? Which board is it affiliated to? What are the quality of the teachers and all of this, and put our kids in the school. Mm. So similarly, since this is what is called reasonable faith, and this is what is actually required in spirituality as well. And similarly, when we believe in the existence of God, we should also have proper reasoning and understanding why we actually place our faith in the existence of God. Mm. So this is one thing. Many people actually have faith, but they do not have this reasoning or understanding to defend their faith in the existence of God. Then such a faith is actually sentimental in nature, and such sentimental faith can be destroyed when in case of sentimental faith is kind of it is very superficial in nature. Mm. Just as a tree which does not have deep rooted, which whose roots are not deep rooted, when there is a slight wind, the entire tree gets uprooted. The entire tree gets uprooted. Similarly, when there are tiring situations in life, when there are critical situations in life, and these people cannot withstand such situations because their faith is very superficial in nature, and as soon as such winds blow, immediately their entire faith and everything will be completely uprooted and destroyed. Mm. Destroyed. So that's the reason we got to develop this reasonable faith. And second, then how can we understand the existence of God? Mm. See, there are many ways by which we can actually come to the understanding or the conclusion that God really exists. God really exists. For example, whenever we come across a very nice painting, a very scenic, nice painting, immediately what comes up to mind? Hmm, Who is the artist? Who is the artist? Who is that wonderful artist who drew this wonderful painting? Such scenic painting. Then the question arises, ki, when we feel that there should be an artist behind a wonderful art, then what to say about the wonderful and the most beautiful nature of which this art is simply an imitation? Mm. Whatever art is made, it is more or less an imitation of the actual nature, right? Mm. Then if for a good art, if we feel that there should be an artist behind it, then what to say about the actual beautiful nature I mean, how can there, I mean, how can there not be any artist behind this? Hmm. The question is, who is the artist who is painting each flower with so many different colors and shades? Who's painting the leaves in such great color? And who has brought about such scenic beauty in this universe? Who is doing all of this? Who is responsible? Mm. How can all of this come? I mean, how can we believe? I mean, when we do not even believe that a painting um, can can manifest without an artist, then how can we believe that this universe, the beauty of this universe manifests without an artist behind it? Mm. And similarly, any law is preceded by a lawmaker. Unless and until there's a lawmaker, there's no question of any law. Mm. For example, whatever law that we follow in the Indian government, mm, there are some people who have drafted those laws. Mm. Similarly, in universe also we talk about many laws like gravitational law, mm, this and that. Many things we talk about. Einstein's energy principle or this and that, and there are many principles and many laws that we talk about in physics and chemistry and other subjects. So we are talking about gravitational law, but have we ever thought about ki, who is the person who made this law happen? We are at most able to discover what actually the gravitational law is. Yes, it is 7 point this much meters per second. This and I mean, we are able to calculate these, make these calculations, but they are already existing. But who is the person who actually introduced this and who defined this gravitational force to be so and so? Who defined this? Although we are able to discover that the planets are moving on their own orbits, but who is the person who placed these planets on their orbits and making them run mm, for millions and millions of years together? Mm. Simply to place a satellite in the space, there are hundreds and hundreds of scientists working round the clock, keeping track of innumerable parameters all the day long, and spending crores and crores of rupees. Even after such great endeavor, many of the satellites end up falling into the oceans. And this satellite is millions of times smaller than the size of the planet that we are talking about. Mm. If to place a small little satellite on its orbit, we need so much of support, then what to say about placing a planet like Earth or other planets on their own orbits? Who is doing all of this? Who is doing all of this? How can all of this happen on its own and by chance? Many a times people bring up this, what do you say that? Mm, Big Bang Theory. Mm, Big Bang Theory, wherein they feel that everything has manifested from a Big Bang. Mm. If such wonderful world and with such wonderful beauty and with such wonderful organization can ever manifest from a bang, then rather than opening up many construction companies, will open up companies which can provide us with a bomb blast. Mm. Then whenever we were supposed to build up a society, then we will plant a small bomb there, we'll blast it up, dynamite or something, and then very nice structured apartments will come up there on its own. mm, on its own. If bang can bring about, if a bomb blast can bring about all of this, then why not open a bombing company? In our natural experience, any such bomb blast have always resulted in destruction rather than any constructive thing. Right. So, and moreover, whatever the point that is being talked about in the Big Bang Theory, that there is a point with infinite density, infinite temperature, and this and that, which is actually mathematically unexplainable and scientifically unrealizable. If it is mathematically unexplainable and scientifically unrealizable, and how can you, how can you explain this then? Then, then what sort of science is this then? When you're not able to express it in scientific terms, then what sort of a science is this? So that's why definitely it is rather, I mean, is it more, I mean, what is more scientific? Is it more scientific to believe that all of this universe and this entire creation have manifested from a big blast? Mm. Or is it more scientific and reasonable to believe or understand or accept that all of this universe and creation have sprung from the supreme intelligence of the Supreme Lord? Mm. I mean, in our experience, we have seen many great manifestations springing up from the intelligence of many people. Mm. If the Lord can enable a person to construct construct such such things like Eiffel Tower or Taj Mahal or this and that, then what is the big deal in believing in that? That very Lord who can enable a person to build such things, that very Lord can do even more bigger things like creating the entire universe. Mm. This is more reasonable to accept than to believe in the fact that it has all sprung from a big blast. And what to say about the organization of the entire universe? Mm. Right from the macro level to the micro level. Every stage we come across perfect organization. Even if we go into the micro level, if we peep into an atom, an atom has protons, electrons, and neutrons moving around its nucleus. And you can imagine the perfection with which the electrons are moving, and the perfection with which the electrons are placed in their energy levels. In chemistry, when we go through the different energy levels of the electrons, just when the energy levels of the electrons differ, simply by a small little change in the placement of the electrons, the nature of the element completely varies. The characteristics of the element begins to change. If you talk about diamond and graphite. In chemistry, we go through, we learn how the arrangement of diamond and graphite, the molecular arrangement of diamond and graphite are more over similar to each other, but there's very small little change between them. With just a small little change in the placement of the carbon atoms, that very thing which could have been a diamond is now recognized as a graphite. Who is defining this fact that by such a molecular arrangement, this can be a diamond, by such molecular arrangement, this can be graphite? Who is defining all of this? Yes, we are able to recognize what is actually existing, but who is the person who is making this possible, making these things exist in that way? Exist in that way. And the only answer to all of these questions is it is only possible by a supreme intelligence behind all of this. Many people actually quote science um, to disbelieve in the existence of God. In the name of science, they try to disbelieve in the existence of God. But I would like to make a point saying that those very scientists who have made up this science, who kind of discovered and proposed the theories of this science, and many scientists amongst them are actually believers of God. Right from Newton to Einstein. Right, from Newton to Einstein, many such great scientists are actually believers in the existence of God. Once in uh, Newton had an atheistic friend. Mm. Newton's friend was an atheist. He was, I mean, he never believed in the existence of God. Although Newton many a times he tried to explain him and prove him the existence of God, but still he was a kind of adamant in his own belief that God doesn't exist. Then Newton thought, let me do something to help him believe in the existence of God. Then one day, Newton had a very nice model of a solar system on his table. And this person came to meet Newton, and he asked, "Amanda, this is such a wonderful model of the solar system. This is looking so nice and so perfect. Who made this?" Then Newton told, nobody made this. It came on its own. It appeared on its own. Mm, Nobody made this. Then don't fool me. I'm not a fool to believe your words. There should be somebody who must have made this, right? How can you simply say that nobody had made this? Then you don't, no, no, no. Nobody has made this. It came on its own. Mm. How it came on its own is that yesterday night there was a big storm, and before the storm, I placed some balls around in the storm. And during the storm, all the balls, somehow or other, they came together and this model appeared. This model appeared. Then this person started laughing and saying, Ki, don't make fool of me, and I'm not a fool to believe all of this. There should be some person behind, I mean, there should be somebody who has made all of this. How can something be, because of some storm, all of these have come together and this solar model automatically appeared on its own? How can this happen? Then Newton asked, if you do not believe that this small little solar model cannot manifest on its own without a person being behind it, then how can you believe that this very solar system, which is crores and crores of times bigger than the small little model, how can this bigger solar system appear on its own without a person being behind it? Mm. Then, then this person got the clue. Mm. Got the clue. And in this way, even big scientists like Newton or Einstein, Max Planck, all of these people, all of these great scientists are very much staunch believers in the existence of God. Existence of God. So it is really foolish to say that science defies the existence of God. Science does not defy the existence of God. Rather, science is actually meant to feel the presence of God even more. Science actually, if you really approach science in the right perspective, it will help you believing in the existence of God more and more, rather than defying the existence of God. Because you'll be able to appreciate even better the vastness or the expanse of the universe, the complexity of the universe, and the nitty-gritties of the universe. When you start recognizing all of this, then you can very easily understand that how can all of this be made possible without the supreme intelligence being behind it. So in this way, one has to draw reasonings why he should believe in the existence of God. I have just stated a few couple of them so as to give a hint how to think about all of this. Mm. So in this way, God is the one who is actually behind all of this. So, okay, with this, we'll move forward to our next item, next question that we are supposed to discuss upon. Yes. Now that we believe in the existence of God, now the question is, God is simply a source of light, a source of energy. I mean, not God is simply light or energy and formless, or God is a person who is the source of this light and who is a source of energy and who is having a form. This is the question. The answer is that God is not simple energy or light. Why? Because any energy needs to have a source of it. Without a source, energy, without a basis, the energy cannot stand on its own. For example, can you ever separate muscular energy from the muscles? Muscular energy is actually an inherent energy of the muscles. It cannot be separated from it. Even if it is, even by some means, if you separate it, always energy needs a supporting system. Without a support, the energy cannot simply exist on its own in the air. So every energy is supported by an energetic. Every energy is supported by an energetic. So similarly, when we talk about supreme energy, the supreme energy needs a support or a basis on which this energy rests upon. The muscular energy rests upon the muscles. So similarly, this energy, yes, definitely the supreme energy is existing, but the supreme energy is resting upon the supreme person. Supreme energy is resting upon the supreme person. That is where there is a concept called Shakti, Shaktiman in the Vedic scriptures. Shakti refers to the supreme energy and Shaktiman refers to the supreme energetic on which the energy rests upon. Energy rests upon, because this is a question which is under debate for many ages together. That's why the scriptures give a very a solid um, understanding about the concept of Shakti and Shaktiman. Shakti and Shaktiman. The Shakti, yes, definitely there Shakti exists, but Shakti is resting upon Shaktiman. And these two, Shakti and Shaktiman, are inseparable also. Shakti and Shaktiman are inseparable because without Shaktiman, Shakti cannot exist on its own. And without Shakti, Shaktiman has no meaning. Shaktiman can be called Shaktiman only when he has Shakti. When he has energy. If he doesn't have energy per se, then how can we ever call him Shaktiman? So that's why the Shakti and Shaktiman are actually inseparable. They go together. They go together. That's why the Shakti and Shaktiman concept. And Shaktiman has no meaning without Shakti, and Shakti has no meaning without Shaktiman. Shaktiman, these two are inseparable entities and they go always together. That's why we always worship the lordships in pairs. That is Radha Krishna, Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayan, Parvati Parameshwar. In that way, wherein one is Shakti and one is Shaktiman. They are inseparable. They always have to go together. Always have to go together. And secondly, once we have understood that, yes, Shakti and Shaktiman are inseparable, and Shaktiman is the basis or the resting place of Shakti, then moving ahead, then we'll try to understand, yes, TK, we understand that there is Shaktiman and on which Shakti is resting upon. But the question is, ki, Shaktiman is formless or he has a form? Because at times people think that by attributing a form to the Supreme, we are actually limiting him. By attributing a form to the Supreme, they think that we are actually limiting the Supreme, or confining the Supreme to that very form. Then in that case, there's a little bit of philosophical, simply, if you carefully listen, you'll be able to understand. If a foolish person like me can understand, then you're all intelligent people, you can very easily understand. In that, they think that having a form limits the Supreme and confines the Supreme to a particular form, and it is also said in the scriptures, and people also understand God is omnipresent. Omnipresent. He is existing everywhere in the universe. When God is omnipresent, then how can he ever have a form? For example, the air is existing everywhere. We cannot give a form to the air. So similarly, how can we understand that the Supreme has a form, at the same time he is omnipresent? This is a question that comes up. The answer to this is that it is not that by attributing a form to the Supreme, we are actually limiting the Supreme. And or the other way we can also say this way, simply by not attributing form to the Supreme doesn't mean that something to which we do not attribute form, it doesn't mean that it is omnipresent. For example, if there is a building, if there's a building which has a particular form, this building has a particular structure, particular form, and if I plant a dynamite and it collapse the entire building, collapse the entire building, and once I have collapsed the entire building with the dynamite, now the form of the building has been completely destroyed. The building is now kind of formless. No definite form as such. No definite form as such. Just because the building building is not having any definite form as of now, it doesn't mean that the debris of the building is omnipresent. Debris also has a confined thing only, It is not omnipresent, it's not existing everywhere. So simply destroying the form doesn't make it omnipresent. The fact is, simply destroying a form of an object doesn't make the object omnipresent. Simply, if you simply try to destroy the form of the Lord, it doesn't make God omnipresent. That is not the thing which can make God omnipresent. And secondly, when we all have forms, when we all have a definite form, and definite form, and everybody has a varying degree of beauty. Somebody is less beautiful and somebody is more beautiful and somebody is most beautiful. If if we are beautiful, then what to say about the Supreme Lord? How can we say that the Supreme Lord has no form at all and he is not beautiful at all? How can he be less than us? In every aspect, he should be better than us. In every aspect, he should be better than us. When it comes to beauty, he should be the most beautiful person. He should be the most beautiful person. So, so if we are having beauty, then Krishna, I mean, God should be the most beautiful person. Then he could be the most beautiful person only when he will have a form, right? Then how can we say that God doesn't have a form? How can we say that God doesn't have a form? And moreover, there are thousands and thousands of shlokas in the scriptures describing each and every limb of the Lord, from his very toe to his hair. Every limb of the Lord is so explicitly and elaborately described in the scriptures that even after hearing so much of detailed explanation about the form of the Lord, how can we again disbelieve in the form of the Lord? I'm just giving a small little argument to understand that God has a form. God has a form. Although I'm not giving an exhaustive explanation because time doesn't permit. So in this case, when God has a form, next, the question arises, then if God has a form, then how is it that he's omnipresent? Having a form means he's limited to a particular form and he's confined to that particular form and that place. Then how can be omnipresent? How can he be existing everywhere? The thing is that yes, he is present everywhere in the form of his energy. In the form of his energy, just like although the sun globe is situated in one place in the universe, in the universal existence, the sun is situated in one place, but the energy of the sun in the form of its light and heat is distributed everywhere in the entire universe. Everywhere in the entire universe, the sun makes its presence in the entire universe in the form of its energy, in the form of light and heat. And this light and heat are non-different from sun, because they are originated from the sun. Originated from the sun, just like the sun makes its omnipresence in the universe in the form of its energy. Similarly, the Lord, although having a particular form, he makes his presence in the entire creation in the form of his energies. In the form of his energies. Just like, although the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he's sitting in Delhi at one place, but still the effect of his government can be felt in every nook and corner of the country. Nook and corner of the country. Any nook and corner you go in India, you say that Modi's government is going. Any nook and corner you go. Although Modi is personally not present there, but his government is felt there because of his energies, because of his power. So similarly, the Lord's presence can be felt in the entire creation in the form of energy. The Lord need not have to be personally present everywhere. Just like Narendra Modi need not have to be present each and everywhere, each and every village. He can sit in one place and get things done in a particular village without having to go there. So similarly, the Lord. Similarly, the Lord. So in this way, the Lord is omnipresent in the form of its energies. So, so there is no point in defying or disbelieving in the uh, um, disbelieving in attributing a form to the Lord, thinking that thinking that how can the Lord be confined to a particular form? No. So after this, now that we have, I mean, this concept is clear. There may be little bit confusions because there's a very kind of a bit of a philosophical and subtle concept which may need some time to digest. Definitely in one session it takes hard. And next we'll further move on to the next concept. We talked about, yes, we're talking about God. Then what is the definition of God? Who is God? What is the definition of God? This is given in Vishnu Puran by Vyasadev's father Parashara Muni. Parashara Muni. He defines God as Aishwaryascha samagrasya Viryasya yashasya shriyaha. So in this it is said ki Shannam Baga Itingana. So in this definition it is so said ki Bhagavan. Bhagavan. This very word Bhagavan means Bhaga plus Van. Just as we say Dhanavan means one who possesses wealth. And Gunavan means one who possesses good qualities. Buddhiman means one who possesses good intelligence. Similarly, Bhagavan means one who possesses opulences, or Bhaga is said to be Bhagavan. Bhaga means opulences, Aishwarya. One who possesses these Aishwarya or opulences is said to be Bhagavan. A possessor. Van means a possessor. What does he possess? He possesses opulences. And what are the opulences being referred to here? Here, Parasar Muni is saying that Shannam Bhaga Itingana. Bhaga means these opulences, they are 6 in variety. There are 6 in Shannam means 6. 6 in variety, 6 kinds of opulences. Whosoever possesses the 6 kinds of opulences in full is said to be God. Is said to be God. This is the definition of God. And what are the 6 opulences? Wealth, power, knowledge, fame, beauty, and renunciation. These are the 6 opulences. These are the 6 opulences. Then are you able to send somebody around you who is having all of the 6 opulences? From tomorrow onwards, we'll call him God and we'll start offering puja and bhoga to him. Find out somebody around you. No. Many people might be having the 6 opulences in small quantities. But here, Parasar Muni is saying ki Aishwaryasya samagraha. Samagraha means these opulences should be present in completeness. In completeness, they cannot be there in they cannot be there partially, rather they should be present in completeness. When these 6 opulences are present in a person in their complete form, then a person can be understood to be God. Just like I've told about 6 opulences. All of you remember what are the 6 opulences that I told? Wealth, power, fame, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. Renunciation. So in this way, the 6 opulences. These, for example, if you take wealth, even the most wealthiest person on earth cannot, I mean, he can only claim wealth which is in his name. Hmm. He cannot claim my bank balance to be his. Hmm. Although I may be having only 100 rupees in my account. Hmm. But still, the most wealthiest person cannot claim my 100 rupees to be his. Right? Hmm. All that he can claim is what is actually in his name. Hmm. That's it. He cannot claim others' properties. Then how can the wealthiest person be wealthier person can be understood to have or possess complete wealth? Because he is not going to have mine. Hmm. So even though a person might be the wealthiest person, but still he cannot claim that he possesses the entire wealth. Hmm. But it is God only who can claim wealth in anybody's name to be his. Wealth which is in my name, God can claim it is mine. Wealth which is in your name, God can claim that it to be his. If we talk about the original owner of the very house you are sitting in now, who's the owner? Mm. Although you may show, Prabhuji, I have those papers, I have the registration papers in my name, but still God will come tear those papers and take your home away. Get lost. Mm. Nobody can defy the proprietorship of God. Mm. So, in that way, the entire wealth belongs to God. So similarly, beauty is not just beautiful, not just the most beautiful, rather mm, all his beauty personified. His beauty personified. So in that way, in every aspect of the opulences that I have just discussed, he possesses all of these opulences in completeness. In completeness. Then such a person who possesses all of these opulences and completeness is said to be God. This is one definition of God. There is another definition, just an abbreviation. God, G-O-D, God, G for generator and O for operator and D for destroyer. Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. One is creator, one is maintainer, and one is destroyer. All of the three functions perfectly happen under the direction of the Supreme God. And the person who is in perfect control of all of these three functions of the entire creation is actually God. Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. And this is one understanding. Another understanding of God is Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram sukhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachati. Here it is said, God is one who is the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, the supreme controller, and the supreme benefactor. God is the one who is the supreme controller, enjoyer, proprietor, and benefactor. So in this way, God is all of these things. When he fulfills all of these aspects, then he can be called as God. So in this way, there's a various understandings of the definition of God. Then moving ahead, now that we have understood the definition of God, now the question arises, कि How many gods do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 33 million. How many? This is a question. So in this, God is, when we say that he is a supreme controller, how can supreme controllers be many? If supreme controllers will start being many, then they will fight like us. If we have 5 general managers, what will they do? They'll be busy fighting it with each other. They'll be busy fighting with each other to show their domination. That is why when we explain about God, in one of the Vedic scriptures it is said, न तस्य कार्यम karanam च vidyate न तत्समः च अधिकश्च दृश्यते. God is one who has no work to do. He has no obligation to perform any sort of work. He is not bound to work like us. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. He does not have any karya or work to do, or in other words, he is not obligated to do any particular work. There is no obligation upon him, although he performs work, but there is no obligation upon him. There is no manager above him to question him, why are you not doing this work? He is supremely independent. And second, what is said? Na tat samaha. There is no one equal to him. Na tat adhikashya. There is nobody greater than him. There is nobody greater than him. God can be called God only when there is nobody equal to him, nor there can be anybody greater than him. If we go by this definition, then how can there be many gods? How can there be many gods? If there are many gods, that means there are many people equal to him. But here the definition says, the Vedic statement is na tat samaha. There is nobody equal to him, nor there can be anybody greater than him. Everybody should be subordinate to him. How so powerful he might be, still he has to be subordinate to God. So in that way, how can there be anyone equal to God then? Then when there is no one who can be equal to God, then how can there be many gods? So that's why the concept of having many gods or believing in many gods is itself wrong, if you go by the definition of God. And in other place, it is also, God is also referred to as asamodhva. Asamodhva means asamaha udvaha. Udva means greater, samaha means equal. A means negation. There, asamaha udva means there is no one equal to him, nor anybody greater than him. And this very fact, again, Krishna emphasizes in Bhagavad Gita as well, wherein he says, Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Mai sarvam idam protam sutre maniganaiva. In this shloka, Krishna says, Mattaha parataram na anyat. Para means greater or bigger or supreme than me. Mattaha parataram na anyat. Na anyat means there is no one greater than me. There is no one greater than me. Mattaha parataram na anyat. Kinchidasti. You cannot find such a person anywhere in the entire creation, be it be material creation or spiritual creation. They cannot find anybody greater than me. So in this way, this very concept is once again re-emphasized in Bhagavad Gita as well. So in that way, the very belief that there are many gods itself is a wrong notion. Wrong notion. So this is clear with all of you. Now we'll move forward. When we now we came to an understanding that yes, there cannot be many gods, there can be only one God. There can be only one God. Now the question arises, then who that one God is? Who that one God is? So we'll discuss on this a little bit now. See, whatever discussion I'm going to bring up now, this has to be heard with a open mind. With an open mind, completely opening up oneself for any possibility that can come up. That can come up, because if we make a narrow-minded approach, then we'll not be able to appreciate uh, whatever is being discussed here. Because initially I also faced a similar problem when I overheard a discussion upon this. You know, thing is ki, if we as we are discussing Bhagavad Gita, if we bring up a discussion based upon the statements of Bhagavad Gita to understand who is God, who is God, then will defer to various statements. As I've said, God is one who is the creator of the entire material and spiritual creations. God is one who is the creator of entire material and spiritual creations. And in support of this, in Bhagavad Gita it is said, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartati iti matva bhadante mam bhuda bhava samanvitaha. In this shloka it is said, Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. I am the source of this entire creation. I am the source of this entire creation. Mattah sarvam pravartate. And this entire creation subsists on me. Iti matva, one who actually knows this fact that I am the origin of the entire creation and everything subsists on me. Knowing this fact, what does a person do? Buddha, such an intelligent person, Buddha means intelligent, such an intelligent person, what does it do? Bhava samanvitaha. With all his heart, he will engage in my service. With all his heart and soul, he will take to my devotional service. This is the place wherein it is clearly declared or stated that the entire creation and existence actually originates from the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And yes, we also told that God should be the supreme controller. God should be the supreme controller. That means he is that controller who does not have any other controller above him. There are many Ishwaras in this world. Each one of us are small little Ishwaras, and we have bigger Ishwaras above us. And just like, we are working in a company, there is a bigger Ishvara called manager above us, and above the manager is director, and above the director there is the chairman. So in this way, there is a hierarchy of Ishvaras even in this world. And who is the one who is top on this ladder? Above him, there is no other Ishvara. There it is said, in Brahma Samhita, the Lord Brahma with all of his authority states, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Ishvara Paramaha Krishna. Paramaha means ultimate, Ishvara means controller. And who is the ultimate controller? ultimate controller is Ishvara Paramaha Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate controller. Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. His form is made up of Satchit Ananda. Anadir Adir Govinda. Anadi means Adi means he is the origin of everything, and Anadi means he is beginningless. He himself does not have any origin. Some people ask this question: if God created everyone, who created God? If God created everyone, then who created God? The answer to this is given in this shloka. God is Anadi. Anadi means beginningless. There cannot be any creator of God. If there is a creator of God, then the person who has created God should actually be called God, not this person. Because God is one who does not have a creator of himself. So this is again, this question itself is foolish because this goes again as the very definition of God. This goes again as the very definition of God. So that's why it is said Anadi means beginningless. He does not have any beginning. There's no one who's created him. Rather, he is the one who created everything. So in this way, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship such a Lord who is known as Govinda. This is the statement of Brahmaji. And similarly, in Bhagavad Gita also, it is stated कि मया अध्यक्षेन प्रकृति सूयते साचराचरम. Many times people say that people say that the nature created this. Nature is the cause of this entire creation. But here, Bhagavad Gita condemns such a statement, saying that Maya Dyakshena Prakriti. This Prakriti, which is called nature, is actually being conducted under the supervision or the direction of myself. Krishna claims that this entire Prakriti is being conducted by me. Mayadhyakshena Prakriti suyate sacharacharam. All this moving and non-moving existence of this entire universe is being run by me. So in this way, here also we can understand who is the supreme controller. And and in this way, and in one more statement it is said कि यच्चक्षुरेषा सवितः सकलग्रहाणां राजा समस्तसुरमूर्तिरशेषतेजः यस्याज्ञया भ्रमति संवृतकालचक्रो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. In this verse, it is said, the sun, in this verse, there is a description about the sun. Yacchakshuresha savita sakalagrahana. I worship that Lord of whom the sun is an eye. The sun acts an eye of this Lord. Yes, Yagya Brahmati. And this such a powerful sun who is actually Raja Samasta Suramurti. The sun is actually considered the king of all the planets. And such a sun who is king of all these planets is actually conducting itself. Yes, Yagya. Yes, Yagya means under whose direction the sun is roaming around, is moving around, I worship that Lord. Under whose direction, as per whose direction the sun is moving, I worship that Lord. And who is that Lord? Govindam. That Lord is who is Govinda. This statement is once again a statement of Brahmaji. Then we'll come to a statement given by Shivji, Lord Shiva, in Padma Puran. He makes the statement and he reveals this onto Mother Parvati. in Padma Puran, wherein in Padma Puran Lord Shiva states this. See, आराधनानां सर्वेषां विष्णुर आराधनं परम तस्मात् परतरम देवी तदीय आराधनम परम. In this it is said, Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam param. There are various forms of worship that we come across in the Vedic scriptures. But of all the types of worships that we come across, the best form of worship is considered to be the worship of Lord Vishnu. Vishnur Aradhanam param. Vishnu Aradhanam param. And further, he does not stop here. Lord Shiva further goes on to say this, there is some worship which is even greater than the worship of Lord Vishnu. And what is that? Lord Shiva says, when we worship or respect the devotees of Lord Vishnu, that worship is said to be a greater worship than the worship of Lord Vishnu. This is how much respect Lord Shiva attributes to the devotees here. You can imagine. And in Bhagavatam it is stated, Nimnaganam yata Ganga, Vaishnavanam yata Sambhu, Devatanam achyuto yata, Purananam idam tatha. So in this sloka it is said, Nimnaganam yata Ganga. Just as Ganga is the topmost of all the rivers, and Ganga is the topmost of all the rivers, similarly, Lord Krishna, Achyuta, is the topmost of all demigods. And not just that, Vaishnavanam yata Sambhu. And amongst all the Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva is the topmost. Amongst all the Vaishnavanam, amongst all the Vaishnavas, the topmost Vaishnava is the one who engages in the worship of Lord Vishnu. Is called Vaishnava because Lord Shiva engages in the worship of Lord Ram. That's why he is said to be a great Vaishnava. It's in this way. And one point of time when Mata Parvati questions Lord Shiva, ask him to elaborate on what actually he meditates upon for all the time. I see you often meditating on something. Please let me know who you are meditating upon. What is that you are meditating upon? Then Lord Shiva says, Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Paranane. He constantly recites the names of Lord Ram. At times people may ask, Prabhuji, Lord Ram came in Treta Yuga. See, these personalities, they appeared in Treta Yuga, but it doesn't mean that they were not present before. Just like the sun appears every day early in the morning, it is foolishness to say that the sun wasn't existing before it arose today in the morning. The sun was existing previously as well, right? It just came to my vision today. But sun is existing eternally. So similarly, the form of Lord Ram is an eternal form which is existing eternally. Eternally. So in that way here Lord Shiva claims that he meditates upon Lord Ram and he chants his name and he further glorifies Lord Ram's name, saying that chanting Lord's name 3 times is equivalent to reciting Vishnu Sahasranam once. Reciting 1000 names of Lord Vishnu equates on to chanting Lord Ram's name for 3 times. So in that way, Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varam. I mean, once Lord Ram, chanting once Lord Ram name is equal to chanting 1000 names of Lord Vishnu. This is what is told here by Lord Shiva. So in this way, there are many pastimes and many slokas that we can quote wherein it is very clearly established and recognized how the Supreme Lord Krishna is accepted to be the Supreme Person who is in charge of the entire material and spiritual creation, who is the creator, who is the maintainer, and who is the destroyer behind all of this. All of this. Definitely, whatever I have discussed until now, will just like I was a staunch believer in Lord Shiva, mm, even now. But when I heard this explanation for the first time, my ego was badly hurt. Mm. My ego was badly hurt because these people are promoting their God. These people are promoting their God. Why should I accept their notion? Let me have my own. Mm. I have my God, they have their God. How can this foolishness be possible? How can you have your own God and I have my own God? God should be the one, the same for each one of us, whosoever it may be. It is foolishness to say, if I say, see, if I say ki, my father is the Prime Minister of India. My father is the Prime Minister of India. You believe or not, I am not bothered. But for me, my father is the Prime Minister of India. Just because you believe that your father is the Prime Minister of India, will your father become Prime Minister of India? Never. Prime Minister of India is Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi ji. You cannot simply bring up any personality and start saying ki, according to me, as per my opinion, I believe that he is the Prime Minister. You cannot simply say like that. Rather, we have to keep our mind open to accept the facts. Then when I was repeatedly hurt, then one day I thought, okay, let me hear this with an open mind, giving up all my prejudice. Giving up all my prejudice, let me hear whatever they're going to say with an open mind, and see what it has, um, what are the facts. Then when I approached the sessions with such an open mind, then I started thinking, when they are giving, when they are not speaking anything um, uh, out of their own mind, they understand their opinions. Rather, they are presenting the opinion of the scriptures. Let me hear the opinion of the scriptures. What is wrong in it? When I started approaching with an open mind, then I started appreciating this concept. This concept. And but it doesn't mean that I do not have any feelings for Lord Shiva now. I do have. But with the right understanding of who Lord Shiva is and who Krishna is. Who Lord Shiva is and who Krishna is. So in that way, we need to have a very rightful understanding of who is who, and accordingly approach them. Rather than sticking on to our um, own baseless opinions, rather we accept the opinions or the statements of the scriptures with an open mind, and accordingly respond or act. So in that we will have to do this. And so I definitely, I believe that definitely it needs a couple of more sessions for us to develop much better understanding on this concept. But given the given the length of this course, such detailed discussions are not possible. So that's why I kept it as brief as possible. Mm, Leaving room for further discussions in the upcoming sessions after this course. Mm, Definitely in this course, we may not be having much time to discuss on this in an elaborate way. Rather, in the upcoming courses, we will discuss on this further. And definitely, as I'm saying, this is not the last course that we will be doing. Because this is kind of a launching course wherein we begin to understand or appreciate this thing, mm, and slowly develop interest and further dive deeper into this to understand more and more. Okay, with this, I would like to finish off today's session, and tomorrow we'll discuss the concept of karma. Mm, Okay. Any questions for today from today's session?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. As Prabhuji said, whosoever have any question, kindly raise your hand. Let's start with Tarushi Mataji. Please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, my question is like, as it is said that worshipping or respecting the devotees of Lord Vishnu is the highest form of worship, and Shivji is the topmost of the Vaishnavas. So, Prabhuji, whom do we worship, Lord Krishna or Lord Shiva?
Acha. Yes, worship of the devotees is understood to be a greater form of worship than worship of the Supreme Lord Himself. So, in that case, when we respect Lord Shiva, we respect Lord Shiva as he is the greatest devotee of the Supreme Lord, and but always understanding uh, his position. Always understanding his position, because if we fail to appreciate the position of the person we are respecting, we may not we may mess up with the protocols that are to be followed while approaching that particular personality. For example, for a prime minister we are supposed to follow a particular protocol, whereas for an MLA we are supposed to follow a particular protocol. If I do not understand who is a MLA and who is a prime minister, then I'll start following the protocol of the prime minister with the MLA, then what would happen? So similarly, the vice versa. Similarly, the vice versa. Yes, we definitely respect, but as per the protocol. Whatever the protocol is to be followed for an MLA, we use for MLA, and whatever protocol is to be followed for a prime minister, we use it for him. These protocols are reserved for them. So in that way. Okay. Yes.
Vishal Arora, Prabhuji, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, Pranam Guruji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hi. Uh, so I have one question here. In the beginning, you mentioned that an Ishvara is equal to Supreme Controller. And my question is, the role of the Supreme Controller is equal to the great brain painter in controlling the bad deeds, like in the destruction part of the world. So what is this relevant question for today, or do you know, for
Okay.
example, what's wrong is happening in the world? So why the painter is not stopping people to spoil the painting? Pardon my ignorance.
Got it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
What does the Supreme Controller got to do with, I mean, how is the Supreme Controller responding to all the bad things happening in this world?
Absolutely, sir.
And at times it so appears that there's no, there's nobody above. who's controlling the entire thing when we see all of this mess happening. It gives us a feeling. But it is not so. Rather, the Lord is always in full control of the entire existence. He's always in full control. But the thing is that he waits for the right time to act. Waits for the right time to act. And because because there are many intricacies involved in this, because everybody is supposed to go through their um, go through their karmic reactions. If the Lord now and then he comes and starts interfering and he stops this, then he is kind of interfering with his own system that he has made. So that's why the Lord waits for the right opportunity or the right time to respond to all of this. And definitely everything is under full control of the Lord. And this is what actually makes a devotee fearless. This understanding that the Lord is in full control of the entire creation is what actually makes a devotee fearless. And secondly, whatever we are seeing now, it is not that it's just happening today, it was also happening in the past. For example, if we refer to the time during the Britishers, then also many atrocities were happening. During the Mughals, yes. And what to say about, and then even if you refer to thousands and thousands of years before, during Krishna's time, Kamsa was indulged in so many atrocities. And what I mean, not just in Dwapar Yuga, even if you go to Satya Yuga, Hiranyakashipu was engaged in so many atrocities. So in this way, these actions are, these sort of situations are not just seen today, but rather they are existing all the time in some form or the other. Sometimes they were inflicted by Britishers, sometimes by Mughals, and sometimes by demons like Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, and so on, so on, so on. So in that way, in that way, in some or the other form, these atrocities were always existing, and the devotees have always sought after the shelter of the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord, and there are many, and there are. And we see how the devotees seek the shelter of the Lord and how the Lord protects his devotees when required. When required. So this is what I can say on this.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that wonderful question. Trilokesh Jana Roy, would you please unmute yourself and ask the question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Prabhuji, my question is how to feel presence of God in our life?
So this is the this is what we learn in the scriptures, how to feel the presence of God in every walk of our life. Thing is that God is the one who is present everywhere, and God is the one who is closest to us, but still God is the one whom we don't see. God is the one whom we fail to feel the presence. So in the sea, we can feel the presence of the God by understanding with the help of scriptures how the Lord is interwoven in every walk of our life. Just like it is said in the shloka, Mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. Just like just like a pearl necklace, all the pearls are woven onto a string. They are strung using a string. Although when we look at a pearl necklace, the string is not visible. It is only the pearls that are visible. But still, one cannot deny the existence of a string because all the pearls cannot stay together without the support of a string. Just by looking at the orderly arrangement of the string, any intelligent person can understand how the Lord is present behind, how a string is present bringing all of these pearls together. So similarly, whenever we come across anything in this material creation that would actually give about a remembrance of God, remembrance of Krishna for a devotee. Anything that we may come across that will actually bring about a remembrance of Krishna in a devotee's life. And this is how a devotee's vision slowly and gradually gets spiritualized by keeping on hearing scriptures and associating with devotees. His vision gets spiritualized, as and when his vision slowly and gradually gets spiritualized, he'll be able to feel the presence of Krishna at every walk of his life. That is why it is said, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santas Sadeva Hrudayeshu Vilokayanti. It is said here ki ek Santaha, a saintly person, can all the time see God, all the time feel the presence of God. Why? Why? Because his eyes are anointed with the love of God. Premanjana. Prema means love. When this kind of anjana or ointment is anointed on the eyes, and with such eyes, when we see the world, then we feel the presence of God everywhere. And this vision can be developed by hearing the scriptures and practicing the scriptures. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that explanation. Astha Fanda, Mataji, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, although it's a very trivial question, because my understanding varies a little different than what we had in today's session. So I just want to understand, like, how can God be a person, but person has limited time on this earth? Then I mean, how I associate God is more like an energy which can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it only changes form from one and another. So I do believe that having a form, I mean, one can say that then God can have a form, like, but isn't form of Lord more like an utopian vision, like Surdas, without having seen God, he described a form that he chose him to see. But in the essence, isn't that God is an energy? Because he like he said, like, without even having seen God ever, he described it very beautifully, saying Savali Surat Mohani Murat Naina Bhayo Vishal Baso Mere Nainan Mein Andhra. So is it more like a manifestation of our our own perception of the form more than form itself?
Thank you for the question. The form of the Lord is not visible by the material eyes. Surda's material eyes are blinded, but his spiritual eyes are open, And whereas our spiritual eye, we are spiritually blinded. He is materially blinded, but we are spiritually blinded. Hmm. Lord is visible to the spiritual eyes, not to the material eyes. Hmm. So Surdas can only see the God, and we cannot see God with our eyes, whereas Surdas is able to see because he has those spiritual eyes to see God. Hmm. So it is not that Surdas is describing the form of God without even seeing. Rather, he is the one who actually saw God, and we are the ones who haven't. Hmm.
Certainly.
Secondly, secondly, uh, whatever the form of God that we are talking about, this is not a mental picture or a mental speculation. Rather, whatever form of God that we are describing or discussing about are as per the statements of the scriptures. We cannot attribute any XYZ form to the Lord and say that this is my God. No. This is what is actually condemned. To attribute any XYZ form to the Lord and recognizing that form to the form of the Lord. Rather, the form of the Lord is actually as per the statements of the scriptures. As I've said, there are innumerable statements which actually describe the form of the Lord. Form of the Lord. So in that way, the form is not an imagination. Rather, the form is as per the statements of the scriptures. And thirdly, 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 as I've said, yes, definitely energy is there, but energy doesn't have any meaning unless and until there is an energetic who possesses the energy. Energy is always possessed by an energetic. Energy always rests upon an energetic. So that's why, yes, definitely there is energy, definitely there is Shakti, but that Shakti needs a resting place, and that resting place is who is the Supreme Person. Who is the Supreme Person. And last point that I wish to share is that when we are talking about person, immediately the concept that springs up in our mind is a person like me and you. But the point is, God is person, but he is not a person like you and me. He is supreme person. He is supreme person. He has a body, but that body is not like ours. He has a body, but that body is not like ours. Just like it is said, Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pasyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti ananda Ananda Chinmay Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. In this it is said, Angani Yasya Sakal Indriya Vritti. Each and every of his limb is capable enough to perform the activities of all the other limbs. That is, we can only see with our eyes. Our eyes will start burning when we pour some sambar in it. Because with our eyes we cannot eat. Whereas the Lord can not only see with the eyes, he can also smell with the eyes, he can eat with the eyes, he can reproduce children with the eyes. So he has eyes, but his eyes are not like ours. So similarly, he has a body, but his body is not like us. He is a person, but he is not a person like we. He is a supreme person. So in that way, we'll have to understand based upon the scriptures. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
So much, Prabhuji, for that wonderful question. And thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that wonderful explanation. Ashish Chaudhary, Prabhuji, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Prabhuji, as you told that Ganges is the greatest river on this earth. But nowadays, when we see it, it is polluted very much. So many rivers are there, very beautiful and clean. How can we say, according to Shastras, till today, at present, the Ganga is the greatest river? but it doesn't look like as it is mentioned in our Shastras. If it is mentioned in our Shastras, it should be true in at every time.
Thank you for the question. See, just because there's some contamination in Ganga doesn't make Ganga impure. Mm. Just because somebody has dumped some waste chemical water from his factory in Ganga, it doesn't make Ganga an impure thing. Rather, Ganga retains its purity in spite of all of the wastage that is being dumped in it. Because when we talk about purity, it is not about the material perception of purity that we are referring to now. Rather, it is the divinity of Ganga. And what makes Ganga so divine? What makes Ganga so divine is that Ganga, the water of Ganga, have at one point of time, they had the opportunity to wash the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Because Ganga carries the dust particles of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord is what actually makes Ganga so divine and so pure. In spite of whatever waste is being dumped into it, still the water of Ganga remains divine, retains its divinity. Retains its divinity. Just because Lord Shiva has drunk poison doesn't mean that Lord Shiva has lost his position. He is such a great personality that even after drinking poison, the poison cannot affect the divine position of Lord Shiva. Similarly, the divinity of Ganga cannot be affected by such material waste or something. It is human error that we are, it is wrong on our part that we are dumping all of this into Ganga and we are performing kind of a disservice to Ganga, an offense to Ganga. Just because we are offending, it doesn't make Ganga anything less. Thank you.
It's purity which matters. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that explanation. CP Sharma, Prabhuji, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My question, or rather statement, is that can we say that the Lord executes its control over the world through the karma? Because sometimes there was a question when there's so much of mishappening taking place, and what is God doing? So, what you rightly said, that the karma are the one which have to be waited for. So, the nimit is the karma. Can I say that?
Yes, very nicely you stated that. Yes, karma is controlled by God. And he, as you know, the Lord is present in each one of us in the form of super soul, in the form of Paramatma. This is one of the role of Paramatma to deliver one's karma, karmic reactions to the person. So in that sense, what you have said is right, but just a kind of a note that I wish to add to your statement, saying that although the Lord is controlling the world through karma, but it doesn't mean that Lord is subordinate to karma. Anytime he wishes, he can nullify the karma and overpower karma. overpower karma, so he has the authority over karma as well. But usually he goes by the karma, but there are instances when he doesn't go by karma. That is when that is when a person performs intense devotion. Then by the dint of by the dint of his devotion, his karmic reactions are nullified. And
All right.
that is when he overrides karma at that point of time.
That's
Naturally, he follows the karmic principles.
yeah. So
ठीक है,
that's right. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Pranam.
Pranams.
Uh,
Okay, so we can.
oh, yeah, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. We still have a few questions left.
ठीक है, quick.
Okay. Ashwita Jha Mataji, please unmute and ask a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my question was that as you said that the in the Vedic scriptures it is written that the best way of worship is of Lord Vishnu, but there is a greater worship than the worship of Lord Vishnu, that is of Lord Vishnu's devotees. But the devotees are serving him, and they're in a lower position than him, and he's the greatest. So how come the devotees how come his devotees worship is greater than than his worship?
Okay, thank you.
Confused.
How can the worship of the devotees be considered greater than the worship of the Supreme Lord, when Supreme Lord is definitely greater and worshipable for all the devotees? This is the question. See, this cannot be understood by what do you say? If we simply go with the designations, this can only be understood based upon love. Based upon love. Just like there's a billionaire and he has a small little daughter. If you were to satisfy that billionaire, then you'll have to bring him some big gifts. Whereas he can very easily satisfy that billionaire by giving a small little chocolate to his daughter. And if that billionaire sees that his daughter is happy with that small little chocolate, that satisfies the billionaire. Although the chocolate is completely negligible as far as the opulence or the wealth of the billionaire is considered, but still he is pleased because his daughter is pleased. Because his daughter, she is the love personified of that billionaire. So similarly, the Lord loves his devotees so very much that anybody who renders small little service to his devotees, the Lord will be very pleased with them, even much more than he'll be pleased when he is served directly. Because he is not very much bothered about he being served, rather he is more pleased when his devotees are served. Because he loves his devotees more than himself. He loves his devotees more than himself. That is why service onto the devotees is considered to be greater than service onto the Lord. This is how. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for that question. And thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that wonderful explanation. And that was the last question for the day. With that, we have come to the end of today's question and answer session. Let's take this opportunity to thank His Grace Vedanta Chaitanya Prabhuji for clearing our doubt with respect to the concept of God. Hope we have a better understanding about God. As Prabhuji said, that one session is not just enough to explain. We will definitely have further programs, of which I'll inform you after this. Let's now thank His Grace Vedanta Chaitanya Prabhuji for his time and wonderful session by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. On behalf of all the attendees, Prabhuji, please accept obeisance. Thank you so much for your time and wonderful session. So as Prabhuji pointed out, that today's session or this 5-day course is just a step in the longer journey. In tomorrow's session or maybe day after, we will inform you about the further programs, further connects that will help you continue with this journey, beautiful journey in the world of spirituality, understanding your own spiritual being, and so on and so forth. So would request you to please stay connected, join us tomorrow as well. And the link for today's quiz has been shared in the chat box. Kindly do attempt the quiz. And as I said at the beginning of the session also, do enter your name and phone number and other information the way you have entered in your previous quizzes in order to help the team map your answers and accordingly make you eligible for the mega quiz. With that, we have come to an end for today's session. Let's chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra once and pray for each other's well-being, spiritual growth, and pray before Lord to give us the strength and whatever is required to understand the song of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you so much for your time and giving us your association. Hare Krishna.